Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining us for another episode of the Daily Biz Link. Today on our Wednesday Wellness Series, Kathleen Gramzay is back for a conversation on self-empowered health. We'll be covering the topic of the power of the 90-second rule and how it can improve your ability to handle your reactions. So Kathleen, thanks for being here.
My pleasure as always. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thanks. Well, it's a safe bet or an understatement to say that life at times can be really disturbing. And certainly in the last year and a half or so, we've come to realize how many things can be totally out of our control. And so really, when we look at it, honestly, the only thing truly that we have control over is, or can gain control over, is to master ourselves, to master our ability, our thoughts, our feelings, and our reactions. And so we've been talking about how this limbic brain, right, this survival brain kind of messes us up because it has an emotional chemical thing that happens, right? And then the next thing you know, we're stuck in anger, frustration, or overwhelm for who knows how long, rather than being able to actually experiencing it, let it go, and then move on to something that's more productive, right? And feels better. So, if you're prone to getting stuck in a negative emotion, it really is so helpful to understand that it is a chemical process that then becomes ingrained as a habit. And the good news about that is just like any other habit, we can choose to feed it or to shift it. Have you ever heard of Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor? Do you know who she is?
The name sounds familiar, but I'm having a hard time connecting the dots.
Yeah, she is a brain scientist. She's a renowned Harvard research neuroscientist. And the reason why she's become renowned is that she studies brains for a living, right? And she had the experience herself of literally watching her brain and her body systematically shut down while she experienced having a stroke. And so she wrote a book called My Stroke of Insight, and which is her 8-year story of her rehab process. 8 years to learn how to feed herself, to learn how to talk again, to walk again, let alone to get to the point to be able to teach again and then do a TED Talk, right? So for anybody that has had the experience of whether it's caregiver or a family member who's had a stroke, I really recommend it because it's literally her inside experience of what it's like to be on the inside of the person who's had the stroke and then contending with everybody else and how they're working with them. So it's a really, really good resource for people. But in her research, she was the one, Dr. Taylor talks about something that she calls the 90-second rule. And the cool thing is that when you do an MRI and you study the mind and you study the brain, and the reactionary time from the time a person is triggered to the whole process of going through the emotion of the reaction, the whole thing only takes 90 seconds. Now, how cool is this to know that the part we can't control is only 90 seconds? We can handle that. I can experience being mad or sad or something for 90 seconds and like, okay, I can make it through that. Right? That's powerful. It's to understand that. What she says is that any remaining emotional response after that is actually us choosing to stay in that loop. So first of all, if you know that there is a 90-second rule and you could start implementing it, that's powerful, right? And then the second part is whether or not you're going to choose to continue down that road, or you're going to just observe it and then see and how it dampens down the amygdala response and then change your thoughts and then change your direction.
So rather than saying, I think I just need a minute, we should start saying, I think I need 90 seconds.
90 seconds, exactly. Give me 90 seconds, right?
But no, I think just knowing that it's only 90 seconds, I think that helps with shifting the mindset and really understanding that, you can work through it. So that's an interesting finding. So I'm so glad that you shared that with our audience.
Yeah, and think about the power of that, right? So we don't want to feel emotions because they don't feel good, right? They don't. Negative emotions are heavy. It's uncomfortable. All you got to do is think about when we get to feel it, we actually get to let it go. And so we're not storing it in our body to have it blow up later, right? It's actually in that process of that 90 seconds. So I'd invite everybody this week to try this process, right? Notice the emotion, label it. I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm irritated, whatever it is. And then watch it for 90 seconds, breathe. Might as well let it go while you're watching the clock. And then either see if you change your thoughts, or if you choose to stay with it, like 90 seconds is done and you're still chewing on it, and then you're talking about it, ask yourself why. What benefit are you getting out of it? Because we only do stuff that has a benefit. As weird and as kind of awkward or weird as that seems, why would we want to stay miserable? But there is a payoff. We just maybe don't realize what it is. And then from that understanding, that be open to see what it is so that you can change it and live differently if you'd like to.
Wonderful. Well, as we look to wrap up today's conversation, I know you provided some great tips and some strategies for things that they can look to implement during the week. So is there anything else that you want to leave our audience with?
No, just try that and let us know how it works.
Wonderful. Well, Kathleen, thanks so much again for joining us.
My pleasure. Always great to see you, Lindsay. Thanks.